How's it going, everyone? I hope you're having a great day because today we have a story of one of the craziest airport Karens of all time. Yes, this is the first time telling a crazy Karen story about a Karen in the airport. So anyways, sit back, relax, subscribe to the channel if you are new, and we're going to call the subscriber who submitted this story Leah. So anyways, this all happened when Leah was on vacation over the summer, and this happened a couple years ago, and Leah and her family were going to Florida, I think. And so anyways, Leah and her family, they pull up in like the van that like brought them over. They walk out of the van with their bags and they're walking towards the station, the kind of like terminal. They go to the terminal, they check in and they check in their bags. And now at this point, there's this thing. If you guys haven't been to the airport, which I think most of you guys have, there's this thing called there's this thing called like the TSA, at least, and that's what it's called in the United States. Kind of like a check before you go into the actual airport. They just got to scan you to make sure you're not bringing anything that you shouldn't be bringing along. So this line is normally pretty long, and what they do is they make you a lot of times to make you take off your shoes, empty your bags, empty your pockets, just so they can scan everything and make sure it's all set. So anyways, like Leah and her family got in this line, and right in front of her was someone that she did not know was going to be such a big part of her life for the next couple hours. This was the Karen, but they didn't know this at this point. So anyways, Leah and her family are standing behind the Karen in line. And so eventually they get to the part of the line where they have to put their stuff into bins, scan it through, walk through the big scanner, and then eventually put their stuff back on. So if you don't know, you have to take off your shoes because people can like hide stuff in their shoes and they need to be scanned individually. And the Karen in front of them, was about to walk through without her shoes on. So the person like in the TSA was like, "Hey ma'am, can you please take off your shoes?" And she's like, "Do you know how long it would take for me to take off my shoes and put them back on? Like, that is such a big ask." And the TSA person's like, "Ma'am, I'm so sorry, but, like, I don't know what to say. You kind of just have to take off your shoes, bro. Like, I don't know how else to say it. That's just something you kind of have to do, you know?" And she's like, "I'm not doing it." And they're like, "Man, we can't let you through if you don't take off your shoes." And then she's like, "Well, you let that person go without their shoes on." And she points to someone on the other side. And the TSA dude's like, "Ma'am, that person already went through without their shoes on. They've just put their shoes back on because they've already went through." And the Karen's like, "This is an outrage. Fine, I will take off my shoes so that I can go on my great vacation that you're not going on. But just know that I'm filing a complaint against this airport and about forcing women to take off shoes and not men." And the TSA dude's like, "Nope, everyone has to take off their shoes. Not just you or women, trust me." And she's like, "You know what? Your supervisor and your manager will know about this. Just have fun with your job while you have it." Which obviously, yeah, this guy is just having a great time at his TSA job. This is definitely what he wants to be doing, right? And he definitely wants to just be, picking and choosing, like, who gets to take off their shoes and who gets to be a threat, who gets to be a risk. Of course, bro, of course. So anyways, Leah and her parents kind of look at each other like while this whole thing is happening, like, "Oh my God, this woman's the worst, dude." But the thing is, right, some people have nerves when they fly. Some people are just cranky because, who knows? Maybe this Karen has been like on 17 connecting flights and Delta's like, "Well, actually, we're going to reroute you through the North Pole. It'll get you there much slower, but sorry, L. Take the L, bro." Because I don't know, stuff like that really does happen. I had a pretty bad plane or a plane experience or flying experience, which I might even turn to a story because you guys like stories coming from me, not just subscribers sometimes. But anyways, so Leah and her family goes to the TSA part, and things are pretty good. Life's pretty good. They get through pretty nice and easy. I mean, they take off their shoes without making a massive fuss about it because they're good people, bro. I don't know how else to say it. But anyways, they get through and, they have about an hour until their flight starts to board. So Leah and her parents find somewhere to get some food. They stop by. They look around. Airplane food is never the greatest, but, they find a place that's all right. And then they go sit in kind of like the section where their plane is going to be, or where they're going to start boarding. And they see the Karen that was in front of them in line complaining about shoes sitting in their section. So, Leah just thinks to herself, well, okay, the Karen's probably, on the flight with us, like whatever. Leah doesn't really think anything of it because at this point, all the Karen has done is kind of made a fuss and been a little weird. Actually, a little more than a little weird. She threatened to tell his manager that, he forced her to take off her shoes, which, what's the manager going to do? Give him a bonus for, like, doing what he's supposed to be doing? Like, I'm really confused at this point. But anyways, Leah doesn't think anything of it. And this is when there's an announcement. An announcement being like, hey, like basically saying that, hey, flight whatever has been delayed. And the flight that they're talking about is like the flight that they're on. It's going to be another hour. Sorry about the inconvenience. And at this point, Leah and her parents are kind of like that sucks, but what are we going to do about it? So Leah and her parents are like, all right, well, I mean, I guess I don't know. I guess if we want to get food or something, because they already got food, but if they want to get snacks or something for the flight or anything like that, And sure enough, they're just kind of like, they're going around, they're walking around. But before any of that happens, when the announcement is made that the flight has been canceled, the Karen takes both of her fists and slams it multiple times on the armchair. She goes, bum, 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 bum. Which, like, I get it. It's frustrating. Trust me, I was just in a very, very, very frustrating airline experience. I get it. But, bro, like, it's not as if no one else is in this situation. It's not as if, like, you're the only one here who has to deal with this. But, whatever. But that's not the only thing Karen does. If you just kind of reacted angrily and kind of slammed your fists, I would kind of look at you a little funny, but I wouldn't really care. Like, at the end of the day, you do you. It doesn't really matter. However, the Karen went above and beyond because she immediately got up and she went to the front desk. And Leah was listening as the Karen says, we have to wait another hour here? The front desk person's like, ma'am, I'm sorry, like, I can't control it. She's like, this is outrageous. Where is your manager? Which, bro, I swear to God, it sometimes is the Karen. Like, the Karen is always going to be like, where's your manager? But in this situation, it literally, it just doesn't. It just doesn't work here because you really think the person behind the front desk is controlling when the planes come in? She's just, this woman's just telling you when. She's just an announcer, bro. I don't know how else to say it. She's just announcing the times that are told to her. If you want to, like, go to the manager, go to the person flying the plane. Go to the plane's manager, dude. Like, anyways, right? Anyways. So sure enough, like, the Karen gives this woman at the front desk a really hard time about how she's not cooperating and she's the reason why, like, the Karen is getting less hours at her epic vacation or whatever, the greatest vacation ever. And Leah is just like, is just looking at this and she's like, wow, this woman sucks, bro. Like, I don't know how else to say it. She sucks. Because at this point, right, the Karen has been berating the person at the front desk because it's her fault that, the plane is late, which, okay, obviously it's not her fault that the plane is late, dude. Do you really think she has any control? But anyways, Leah and her parents, they go and they walk around a little bit. They grab some snacks for the plane, and then they go back because now it is finally time for, to get in line. So basically, right, if you don't know, there's a lot of different ways that the, planes load on. The airline that they were flying, they already had assigned seats. So everyone on the flight had assigned seats. Some airlines work like it's just like first come, first serve, which I think is a pretty bad system. You just sit wherever. I don't know. I'm not a fan of it. I like knowing where I'm sitting beforehand and kind of guaranteeing me that I have a seat. But this flight, you got a guaranteed seat. So you were sitting in like row 6A or whatever. You basically got a guaranteed seat, which was pretty cool. But anyways, right, so the other thing is it's the overhead space where you put your bags. That isn't guaranteed. So some people want to get like in there earlier to make sure that they have some overhead space. So with your ticket, you're in section A, B, C, D, or E. And, they'll tell you like, hey, if you're in section A, only people in section A start lining up now. If you're in section B or C, we will turn you away. Like, I'm sorry, that's just how it works here. So anyways, right, they call, okay, section A. And Leah notices, next to her or a couple seats down, that the Karen immediately gets up and starts power walking to the front of the line. And, at this point, Leah's like, oh, I guess the Karen's in section A, because one would assume if you're this, like, forcefully getting up and running over to be in line that, for section A, that, I don't know, that you're probably in section A or something like that. And, sure enough, she gets up there, and Leah watches, and the person scans her ticket, or looks at her ticket, and is like, ma'am, you're in section C. Like, you got to wait for that. And the Karen's like, does it really matter? And, the person's like, well, I mean, if I let you go through, then, like, literally anyone else, like, there is no point to the ABCD section, like, system. Like, I'm sorry, just, like, could you just wait a second? You have an assigned seat, and we have plenty of overhead space. Like, it's just protocol. I just got to do what I got to do. And at this point, the Karen's like, so the first thing you do is stall the airplane an hour, and the second thing is you demand that I sit down after I already stood up and brought all my stuff here. Like, your supervisor slash manager is going to hear all about this. Which, once again, all you're telling the manager is that this woman has been doing her job perfectly, like that she's actually been following rules to a T, which you're supposed to be doing when you're working with masses of, like, huge quantities of people, right? And having to, like, sort them and deal with them. And if you're part of a massive system that could easily fall apart, that you really do have to follow the rules. So the fact that she's following the rules, bro, I think she's getting a bonus if the Karen, quote unquote, reports her to the manager of what? The airlines? I don't know, dude. But anyways, right, she's eventually told to go back, and then Karen is outraged at this point. She is furious. And so Group B is called, and then Group C is called, and Leah happens to be in Group C as well. So Leah and her family get up, and the Karen gets up as well, and they happen to be right behind the Karen in line. So when the Karen passes by the ticket person or the front desk person once again, and, she hands in the ticket, she's like, "Can I go in now, ma'am?" Kind of says it in a snarky, sarcastic way because she was turned away just like 20 minutes ago. Or like 10 minutes ago, really. And the front desk person says, "Yes, it is Group C's time to board." And Karen's like, "That's what I thought." It's just like, what? Did you get her here, bro? I don't think that's a got you moment. But anyways, like Lee and her family, they scan their tickets as well. And as they're walking in, so I don't know if you guys have been on an airplane before, but in the very front are first class tickets. They're really expensive, but they also give you more room. You get more on-flight amenities. It's just a better situation. I've never flown it personally. I don't know if that's necessarily worth the money. I don't know. I just don't think so. But, some people do. If you fly business a lot, maybe you can get your company to pay for it, which would be pretty sweet. But anyways, right, Leah and, the Karen are passing by the first class tickets or seats. And that's when the Karen, stops someone at the front. Because, there's, there's flight attendants on the plane, and there's multiple flight attendants, and then there's one at the front when you start boarding on. And she's like, ma'am, I request one of the first-class tickets. Yes, you heard me right. The Karen just said that she, quote-unquote, requests a first-class seat as she's sitting on the airplane. Real quick comment, Karen, if you made it this far into the video, I'm going to try and heart a bunch of comments of people who dropped that secret word of the day. I just want to see how many people made it this far into the video. And then also, if you want to support the channel, maybe right after this video or in a little bit, sit down and watch a bunch of videos in one sitting or in one viewing. But watching 2-3+ videos is called binge watching, and it really does help out the channel. Also, please let me know in the comment section down below what you're doing while watching the videos. Are you playing a video game? Are you doing some artwork or something like that? Or you're cleaning your room? Do these videos help you go to bed? Let me know in the comment section down below. I'll heart it. And just thanks again to everyone who's watched this far or binge watches the videos. Thanks for all the support recently. Let's get back to the story. So right, so Leah and the Karen, they walk onto the plane, and as they're about to pass by the first class seats, the Karen stops the flight attendant, which also stops the entire line, by the way. It's not like everyone else has room to move around the Karen. Probably the Karen wouldn't even let people move around her. You're not allowed to take my seat that's already, claimed for me. But anyways, right, so the Karen's like, "I demand a first class seat for all my troubles." And the flight attendant's like, "Ma'am, you can't change your seat at this late. You could have changed in the terminal if we said that there's an ability to switch seats at this point. But all these seats have been claimed. You can't just choose these seats. I'm sorry." And the flight attendant is right in this situation. Of course, you can't just claim seats, but the Karen's like, "I went through so much troubles. When I was going through the TSA line, they made me take off my shoes. And then when I got here, I had to wait another 45 minutes because someone at the front desk decided that we couldn't go on. And then I went up and they said that I couldn't board yet because I was in the wrong boarding group. And now you're telling me that for all my troubles, I can't have a measly first class seat?" Which, by the way, the first class seat's 3 times as expensive, and they're already filled. And the Karen just describe, and the flight attendant goes on to say, yeah, like, I'm sorry, ma'am, we can't do that. But also, you kind of just described the situation that literally everyone else on this plane has been in. They all have to take their shoes off when they go through TSA pre-check. They all had to deal with the 45-minute delay. Like, if they went up before their group was called, they would be turned back. Like, if I give it to you, I'd have to give it to everyone because you guys are all in the same situation, and there are no first-class seats, not even one, to go around at this point. And, the flight attendant's like, I'm sorry, this is just what happens when you fly. And the Karen's like, fine, have it your way. So anyways, like, the Karen starts stopping off and starts walking down the aisle or whatever. And Leah and her parents are walking behind her because I guess they have seats near where she is. And they're kind of just looking at each other like, oh my God, this girl is crazy. Okay, she's not a girl. She's like 50 years old or something. This woman's crazy. This Karen's crazy, bro. But anyways, they keep walking down. And all of a sudden, right, so there's two people. So in a lot of airplanes, there are three seats. There's the window, which is really close, which you can look out the window. There's the middle, which is kind of the most cramped and in between. And then there's the aisle, which basically gives you a lot of leg room on either your left or right side. The aisle seat is normally the one that is the most sought after, whatever. And, the window seat's pretty cool, but you're still pretty cramped. And the middle seat's normally the worst. But that's like, some people might like it, but that's general preference, right? Most people just feel that way. I don't know how else to say it. So the Karen gets to her seat, right? The Karen gets to her seat, and there's someone in the window, and there's someone in the aisle. And the Karen says, move over. He talks to this, like, this kind of like this older man or whatever. She's like, move over to the older man. She didn't even say, hey, I think that's my seat, anything like that. Yada. Like, she doesn't say anything along those lines. She literally just says, move over. And Leah and her parents are listening to the whole thing because they can't move until the Karen has sit down. And the older man's like, I think this is my seat. And he pulls out his ticket. And it clearly shows that, because it shows on the ticket where you're sitting, like A, B, or C, like in the row. And it very clearly shows that he's in the aisle seat, right? It's very incredibly clear. So, at this point, right, the Karen's like, I don't care. I've had a long day. Move over. And the old man's like, ma'am, like, I really do need this seat. Like, I can't, like, be on a flight for that long and somewhere cramped like that. I specifically got this ticket so that I get the aisle seat. In fact, I could have gotten, like, a seat farther up, but I would have gotten middle or window, but I just couldn't, so I got the aisle seat. And he said, I really can't give it over to you. Because this guy was like 65. It's understandable. And the Karen's like, what? But I'm asking you nicely. Which she was not asking nicely. She is just demanding, right? Demanding angrily and asking nicely are not the same thing. Believe it or not. I know. Freaking crazy, bro. But anyways, right? So, like, Lee and her parents kind of look at each other. And they're kind of just like, And so a flight attendant starts to walk down towards them because they're like, what's going on? What's the holdup here? And this is when the Karen goes really out of line. She's like, I want the aisle seat and I want it now. And the old man's like, ma'am, I'm so sorry. I'm not going to budge on this. So the Karen takes both of her hands and starts pushing the old man. He's like, oh, I'm unstable. Stop. She's like, meh. Starts like pushing, bum. Because like the Karen wants what the Karen wants. And she's going to get what the Karen wants, right? And she's like, move over. And goes, push. And the old man's like, stop it. You're hurting me. And that's when the flight attendant like literally like walks over and like gets in between them. She's like, ma'am, we're going to have to ask you to leave. And the Karen's like, what? And they're like, we're going to ask you to like legitimately leave the airplane. We're going to walk you off for assaulting another passenger. And the Karen's like, no, it's fine. I'll take the middle seat. And they're like, man, like you were literally attacking this other passenger who's an older man, right? And the old man's like, ouch. And she's like, it's fine. I'll take the middle seat. I don't need the aisle seat anymore. And they're like, ma'am, you don't understand. You're not on this airplane anymore. This is like one of the rules that you like agreed to that you wouldn't break. Oh, I mean, attacking someone is pretty obvious of a rule, but I guess not for the Karen. That's all I'm going to say. Not for the Karen, bro. Not for the Karen. But anyways, right, at this point, the Karen's like, You know, you guys are so funny. So funny. I will take the middle seat. Don't worry. I'll be the bigger person here. I'll take the middle seat. You don't even need to worry. And they're like, ma'am, you don't understand. This isn't like a debate. We're asking you to leave the flight or we're going to remove you. And the Karen, when she hears this, is like, this is outrageous. You don't understand that your manager is going to hear all about this and you're all going to get fired. And then the Karen starts pointing to people on the plane. You're going to get fired. You're going to get... And she's pointing to a bunch of passengers too. Turns around to Leah, points at her. Leah's like a 14-year-old girl. You're going to get fired. I'm going to contact all of your managers and I'm going to have a word with all of them. And so two flight attendants are like, have like both of like, they're both slowly pushing the Karen out. And she's like, you won't hear the end of this. This won't be the end of you hearing about me. All of your managers will know my name. I will be in all their inboxes and they will hear all about the evil crimes you've committed against me. So anyways, and then the Karen is like dragged off plane at this point. So Leah and her parents are just like, oh my God. They sit down at their seat. And they're just like, wow, well, I guess